Okay, I've got a question. How big can you get on 250 milligram of prescription grade test per week? How big can you get? Keeping it low fat, low protein, because I don't like eating lots of protein. I'll maybe add a protein powder soon. I'm getting bigger and I like that. I would guess I'm around 65, 67 kilo, maybe 173 centimeters. Or you don't want to guess your weight, I would get on some scales and weigh yourself. If you want to go on weight gain, then scales can be very, very handy to see what's going on there. Weight loss, it doesn't really mean much, scales, because it's like, they can end up being a bit of a negative spiral for a lot of people. So I'd recommend get the scale so you know exactly where you're at. All right. One of my regrets was not weighing myself enough over the last few years to sort of see, where I was at. Because I just, I tell people I don't weigh myself not because I don't, not because it's like, oh, I don't want to step on some scales. I just didn't do that because I'm like, well, I don't weigh myself and I'm lean. So scales, you don't need them. But looking back, it could have been some fantastic data points to see what dosages do what. But I got photos and they're even better. So how big can you get? 250 milligram a week test. It's a pretty low dosage. All right, it's going to be a bridge dose. And I can speak from experience because I've ran those dosages, prescription grade test, testosterone cypionate, sustanon, and testosterone enanthate. So and testosterone decanoate, undecanoate. 250 milligram it's a pretty low dose. All right, you're going to if you've never done gym before, then you're going to be you probably better you are better off not using gear before you go to the gym. All right, you're better off building some natty gains to get your strength in your tendons. Because if you just hop on gear and then you start doing weights, it's like you're going to get injured almost guaranteed because your body hasn't adapted to doing weights at all. It's just like, okay, we're going to grow muscle, a decent amount really quickly, but the tendons won't catch up, and we're going to be in snap city. So I'd recommend doing some gym for at least 1 to 2 how many years of bench pressing and gym have I done before I started my first testosterone injection? Was 1996. I got my first bench press, and the first time I had testosterone was 2014. So that's 18. I was 18 years natty lifter, and people are like, hang on, dude, do you even lift now? What are you on about? Yeah, man, I had a bench press and I'd lift almost every week for 18 years. Sometimes more than once a week, sometimes less, but it would probably average about once a week for 18 years as a natty. And I built more muscle in a couple of months on 500 milligram a test and some trend than I did in 18 years. So that's something about that there. All things equal, same diet, etc. Now, you said you don't want to eat much more protein. You don't have to, because carbohydrates are the main one, because the glycogen retention is the most important thing, and hydration, drinking enough water, so you're pissing clear every 2 hours, that will help the muscle grow on there. Protein intake, to be honest, I haven't found it that important. It's as much as carbohydrate, because carbohydrate is what makes the muscle feel full. And, unless you're just eating sugar, you're going to get enough protein. You can experiment though by adding in some protein powders, some pea protein, hemp protein, etc. But for me, they're not as important as the steroids themselves. Especially things like tren, etc. Which I wouldn't recommend people take. Generally, if people do take tren, they've been in steroids for 5 or plus years generally. But some people use tren their first cycles. They just want to hit it. But also that's a bad idea, because steroids have a psychological effect, good and bad. And so you won't understand, you're going to handle yourself. That's why slowly raising the dosage, if you're going to use anything, is a better idea versus blasting, because you don't know how you're going to respond mentally. It could be good, it could be bad, it could be both. You could be feeling really good, and then you're going to feel really shit and paranoid and aggressive and paranoid and blah, blah, blah. So you want to, but then again, if you're eating enough sugar, you're really going to unlikely experience any real negative mental things. Especially if you're a person of gratitude, it's going to make a big difference. Gratitude plus sugar plus water, and you don't use any caffeine, etc. Your mental health is going to be really, really good. It's going to be even better than natty levels. So it's, how big can you get on it? You'll grow muscle where people are like, oh, look like you're doing a bit of weights there. You know what I mean? But no one's going to be like, damn, wow, you really changed. They'll be like, you're looking a little bit more muscular. You're doing some weights. That's what they'll say. When you start doing 500 milligram a week, then you're going to be noticing a big difference, assuming you're doing weights as well. Even if you're not doing weights, you're still going to grow, as the studies indicate, the Beshin study. And people are going to go, wow, like, you're going to start to not look like a cyclist. You're going to start to look like a football player, like an AFL football player. You're going to start to look like a sort of a rugby player-esque, muscular rugby player-ish, starting to go that direction. That's what's going to be happening. But then you start throwing in compounds like Tren and D-Bol. I'm not saying you should, I'm saying this is what people do. They're the compounds that really, Tren, Masteron, and Test, they're one of those things that really start to kick off. I've never used Masteron, but I have used Test and Tren. Low dosages, short amount of time, just a few weeks there, and not even going to the gym, and I was growing. And people were commenting on YouTube, even you can sort of see that I've hopped off the trend. My delts have come in a bit, but they were like really more 3D just from doing that, and no training at all. So because I had a neck injury, still do have it today. I can't train much because of my neck, the spinal cord there. But so yeah, that's 250 is not much. It's and there's people out there who lie about it. I just use 250. Greg Luchet just does 250. It's like 250 for breakfast. Yeah, for sure. These guys out there running a really standout physique. Really like, they're blasting. They're blasting and they're lying about it. And it's good that they lie about it, because otherwise teenagers will be doing high dosages, and that's not good. Teenagers are going to do what the fuck teenagers want to do, all right? Like, teenagers are going to keep taking shit until they notice a result, and then they'll go, Greg lied to me, and then you have guys who died, like Scott Murray, doing calories in, calories out, because people like Greg lied to him. It's really disappointing. But 250 milligram is a good dosage. I shouldn't say it's a good dosage, I'll say 250 milligram, you'll feel it. You'll definitely feel it. So it's a good dosage to get a feeling of what steroids sort of starts to feel like. And then the higher dosage you take, the more you'll feel like, getting it. So when you're driving a Lamborghini or Ferrari and you put your foot down, it's like, that's what it's like when you up the dosage or take certain compounds. You go back, like, well, damn, this is strong. You get a kick. So the higher the dosage, the higher the kick. And it does start to flatten off a bit as well. Like there's this, it goes linear and then starts to flatten off. And then again, the higher the dosage, the more the side effect risk. So it's like, that's why if people are going to use anything, titrating up. What does titrate up mean? Titrate is like slowly increase the dosages up or slowly increase it down and get a feel for where you're at. So, and doing blood work as well is important to see your liver and starts responding. But again, these enzymes will go up, and then when you get off and just get back on the test, then your liver enzymes will come back down, etc. You've got other things you can incorporate there as well, like NAC or liver thistle, milk thistle for the liver, etc. But again, you're eating low fat, low protein, you're going to have a lot better liver health than someone who's all that animal protein, etc. in their organs there. But yeah, I think it's people want to use stuff, it started off you wanted to use because your digestion. How's that going? You know any digestion improvements? But then that can quickly turn over into other things. It always happens like that. I just want to try it because of this. And then it's like, boom, second cycle, trend, master on, 750 test. So yeah, but again, don't use any of these compounds, people, if you're going to understand them before you use them. Like if you want to go date a stripper, talk to other people who date strippers. People are going to be real with you, all right? Don't just jump in there, date a stripper, and then you come home and there's nothing left in your house. Like, you want to get as much information as possible. Guys like me, or better yet, guys like who are very, very, very experienced, Dan, bodybuilder in Thailand. Me and Dan, we differ on nutrition tips and stuff, but Dan has used a lot of steroids, way more, he's got way more depth than I have on the topic. I've been around them longer, but Dan's taken them way longer than I have, and he's cranked the proper dosages. So Dan, bodybuilder in Thailand, just says it how it is. So he's a very, very valuable resource, because pretty much all the other steroid users out there whose experiences, Dan, they all lie about it. They all lie about it. Ath Trenex, Jeff Trenard, and Will Trenison, and Matt does Tren, and Greg Trenetta. So yeah, it's Tren is what a lot of people are using out there. Tren plus Test plus Masteron. But anyway, that's the deal. Look up the Bash. Maybe someone can link it down below. The Bashin study, where they dosaged up people and they found how much mass they're gaining. I think it was like 50 milligram up to 600 milligram a week for like 18 weeks or something. Check that out.